Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tawny. I'm just a girl who loves Christian romance books and has turned it into her entire personality. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about some of my all-time favorite Christian fiction authors. This is not a full list. There are seriously so many more, but there are 6 today that I want to talk about and share with you of the books they have published that kind of cemented me as a lifetime fan. So let's get into it. First author I want to talk about is Mandi Blake. Mandi Blake writes books that I consider like Hallmark with faith and specializes in cowboys and always has like a minimum of a dash of suspense. That all varies based off of, what the story is about, what the story needs, the characters, etc. And same kind of goes with the faith. She always has at least a light faith thread in her books, which I really appreciate. But I absolutely love her books. They're lower angst. They're not going to be like that angsty feel, but they're also full of tension. They're full, like I said, of suspense. So you're always like wondering when the other shoe is going to drop. So it definitely keeps you on the edge of your seat. But I really appreciate that about her. And I have 3 of the books that really are standout reads to me from her. The first one is Better Together, and this is from the Wolf Creek Ranch series. And this follows Remy and Colt. And this is a marriage of convenience story about best friends. Remy is somebody who basically doesn't believe that she deserves to be loved, doesn't believe that she knows how to love, and, is proven wrong on all those levels in a very beautiful way throughout the story. The next book is Forever After All. This is about Jess and Link and their love story. They are friends to lover, it's a friends to lover story. Mandi does those really, really well. She always like varies why they stay friends and all of that. But this was a really cute story. He saves her from a terrible blind date, and then their romance kind of kicks off from there. And it's like a slow burn, and it's a small, slow build up over time. And yeah, I just really enjoyed their story. Link is very broody, where Colt from Better Together is kind of like a golden retriever, and he is like a Doberman or a German Shepherd. So 2 very different guys, but both very lovable, and both female main character. Both of these 2 female main characters kind of similar to, like, they're very like more standoffish. They're not necessarily open to love. Like I said with Remy, it's completely different than like why Jess is. But yeah, Jess was not raised in a good family, and so she really doesn't have the experience on what a family should be, how true love, even like family love, works. And so, Link has to slowly ease her into that and learn himself how to love. The next book is Love in the Wild. I don't know why I blanked there. This is from her Love in Blackwater series, and it is a spinoff of the Wolf Creek Ranch series, which are what those other 2 books are from. Gage is the male main character, and Hadley is the female main character. Hadley is the sister of the female main character in The Only Exception. And she's super likable from the get-go, and I really was hoping we'd get her story, but that was like earlier on in that was the 3rd book in the Wolf Creek Ranch series, so I was like, I don't know if we're going to get her book, but she ends up coming in with the Love in Blackwater series with Gage. Hadley is very like happy and bubbly and outgoing, and like tries to see the bright side, tries to always see the best in people. And Gage is very much the opposite of that. Gage and Jess come from the same family situation. And so he is very, I don't want to call him negative, but he's very cold. He's a bad boy, like truly a bad boy, and he stays bad throughout a majority of the book, which I rarely see in those bad boy romances. I feel like I've said bad boy a million times. But anyways, but there's a reason why he stays bad, and there's redemption in it. It's not just like he's just a bad guy and he gets no redemption. Like, there's definitely redemption for him. This is the most recent book of hers where the male main character like really stood out to me, and those other 2 were previous, like over a year ago that I read those 2, but I just read this one a couple months ago. And really enjoyed their story, and just how his faith arc came to be and how Hadley helped him with that too. Okay, so that's about Mandi Blake. I recommend pretty much everything she's written. I have not read every single book of hers. I've read over half though. But she is like a book machine, and I don't know how she does it, but she has quite a few books published, and I'm working on getting through her backlist, but I'm not there yet. So, but definitely check out Mandi Blake, especially if you're into like cowboys, lower angst, but some suspense, because she's amazing. Next up is Joanna Davidson Politano. Now, I have read every single one of her books except The Elusive Truth of Lily Temple. And that's on my list. I'm going to be reading it very soon. But I have absolutely loved every single book she's written and published. And somebody in one of the Facebook groups I'm in, I had asked the question, what is a book that you wish you could read again for the first time? And somebody had commented and said, A Midnight Dance by Joanna Davidson Politano. And I had read one of her earlier books first, and then I jumped into this one after that person had commented that, because I really liked, she has like a gothic mystery romance style writing similar to like Michelle Greep and Jaime Jo Wright, but hers are pure historical, where Jaime Jo Wright's are dual timeline. But anyways, this book blew my mind in the most exceptional way. The whole story is just you just immediately get sucked in, and the whole ballet theme throughout is absolutely beautiful, and just it's just so fun to read. And the female main character in this, I mean, every author that I talk about here, like, their female main characters are super likable no matter what type of personalities they have, but she was very likable, and I really enjoyed how her story unfolded in very unexpected ways. When I got to the ending, there was a moment that I still think about to this day, and I absolutely loved it. So definitely recommend this. This is one of my all-time favorite books, like, ever, and it is on my shelf of fame and will continue to stay there probably for forever. But yeah, Joanna Davidson Politano, A Midnight Dance. In the second book, it's kind of a series, kind of not. Like, this book builds off of A Midnight Dance. Like, you see some characters from A Midnight Dance in it. But this is probably my second favorite of hers, The Lost Melody. This is a book, it was a mind-bending book. Like, as I'm reading it, I'm thinking, what am I reading? Like, what is real? Like, what is real in this book versus what is made up? What is, like, fabricated? Is everything fabricated? Like, what is going on in this book? And I've never read anything like that before, where I couldn't separate truth, like fictional truth, from fictional reality, if that makes any sense. But this one was also excellent, but I definitely recommend reading A Midnight Dance first and then getting into this. But yes, Joanna Davidson Politano is an author you do not want to sleep on. She is amazing, and the faith in her books is always really good. Like I said, she has like a gothic sort of feel to her books, but not like obnoxiously so. Yeah, I just love her books. Those two are my two favorite of hers. But I've read, like I said, everything except The Elusive Truth of Lily Temple. And that's on my list that I will be reading, I'm hoping, this month or the next. So next up, we have Emily Conrad. Now, Emily's books, the Rhythm of Redemption series, this is book one, was circling around in the Instagram, bookstagram, book face, Facebook. Like, I saw her books like going around, and I remember thinking how pretty her covers are and how I really want to read her books. Like, they sounded really good. I heard they had really strong faith, and I was like, okay. So I bought the entire series in paperback before reading a single one, and I don't regret it. But the first book of hers that I read was To Bring You Back. This is the first book in the Rhythm of Redemption series. There's a total of 5 books, 4 band members, plus there's a one, like a novella. So 5 total books. But this one is about Gannon and Adeline. And I can't really say, but something about this book just completely sucked me in. Like I was probably like 5 or so chapters in, and it was like it took everything in me to put it down. But this story just this is one of those books that like resonated with me, but I'm not really sure why, if that makes sense. It doesn't, like, there's nothing that like I necessarily felt connected to the characters with, but at the same time, I connected with the characters. I don't know if that makes any sense. But regardless, I absolutely love this book. Made me fall in love with her writing. I have read everything Emily has written and will continue to, but this is the first book that made me fall in love with her writing. And the second book that kind of cemented that even more was To Believe in You. This is the fifth and final book of the Rhythm of Redemption series, and it was so amazing. Honestly, this was my favorite until I got to this book. And this is a very, very like close. Like this is a very close second. But something about this story just really, really, really spoke to me. And the redemption, right? Rhythms of Redemption, was so strong and so well done. And it literally happened over the course of the entire series until we get to this character's book. And his book is just so good. And there's even like a little bit of suspense in this book. So that was neat, an extra bonus that I was not anticipating. And lastly, this is her second most recently published book, A Surefire Love. What I loved about this book is how much I could sympathize, how similar I was to the female main character in this book. As I'm reading and I'm seeing her struggles, I'm like, these are my exact same struggles. Like, these are things that like I struggle with. Can I say struggle more? These are things that I am facing, and I feel like I'm not alone because this character is also facing it. And it's not, it's tearing her down, but at the same time, she's getting pulled back up. And like how faith tied into that, it was just really beautifully done. And there's like a trope that I'm not typically a huge fan of, but she pulled it off incredibly well and did not make me dislike the trope. Like the trope worked in this book for sure. But yeah, Emily Conrad is another author you do not want to miss. She's amazing. She is super sweet, and she also is like a bookstagrammer. So you're going to see a lot of um, clean Christian reads on her account, not just her books, but her books are amazing. And she has a decent sized backlist, and obviously she's writing some more. But she also, another fun thing about her is she narrates her own audiobook. So if you're like if you're an audiobook listener, definitely look her up. I don't think all of her books are on audio yet, but she does it herself. So I think that's kind of cool. Next up, we have Jaime Jo Wright. You had heard me mention her when I was talking about Joanna, Davidson, Politano, but she writes, all of her books have like a gothic feel to them, but these are dual timelines. So we see past and present, and the way they're all each tied together is always really unique. It's typically through like a house or a building of some kind, and is always done really well. Some of my favorite books by her are The Vanishing at Castle Moreau. This was very, very gothic feeling. Like you're literally in a castle in, I think, Wisconsin, in like the middle of the woods, and you see, when the castle was first built, and then like now, present time, when it's there, and how like things have changed and yet not changed over time. Definitely like a solid plot twist in this one that had my jaw on the floor. So that's a good one. And then this is a fairly recent read of mine. Night Falls on Predicament Avenue is one of my favorites of hers. This is like the female main character, the present timeline female main character owns a bed and breakfast, and things have happened at this building, and she's kind of like living a nightmare in a way. And then the male main character in the present timeline is a true crime podcaster, and he's there because he's doing research and podcasting, if that's the right word, on the goings on at this bed and breakfast and the history behind it. And she also, the female main character in the present timeline, also had fairly recently lost her sister in a very like sad way, and just like how all of that like weaves together makes a really, really good story. And yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Next this is her most recent release, Tempest at Annabelle's Lighthouse. This was a mind bender for sure. And I really enjoyed it. It was a good read. And this actually is like her love letter to Edgar Allan Poe. And so that's a lot of what's in here is like tied into like some of his literature, poetry. And yeah, it was really good. And this had some like thriller elements to it. Definitely like didn't really want to read this at nighttime, but yeah, definitely check that one out. And then lastly, Spectres in the Glass House. This is, I think, her second most recent release. And this had like some representation that I don't see very often in fiction. And I feel like it was done very, very well. And yeah, it was just neat. Like it was just a neat book, like how everything tied together. And I appreciated how like the romance was done. Yeah, like her books are lighter on romance, but I don't mind because the storyline is just, it drives everything so hard and so well and keeps you on the edge of your seat. So definitely check her out, Jaime Jo Wright. And then we have Jennifer Q. Hunt. This is her only series that I've read so far. She has another series out there, and I want to read them. They're on my TBR, but I'm not there yet. But these books, if you are somebody like me who wants really, really strong upfront faith in your books, you need to read this series. Like everything about this series has strong faith, like super strong. And I think every single one of these has made me cry. And I've mentioned on previous videos, I'm not a huge book crier. But yeah, just this series is amazing. And her faith is really, really strong and really in your face, but organically, and it doesn't feel preachy. It's just part of the book. It's part of the series. It's stamped in there, and you can't have the story without the faith. So I highly recommend her books, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about her other series too. I just haven't read it yet, so I can't come out and say like I recommend it, but I probably would. Like I'd be surprised. Yeah, definitely check her out though. So Jennifer Q. Hunt. And lastly is Jessica R. Patch. She writes thrillers, romantic thrillers, and just straight thrillers. I just finished her Christmas thriller, romantic thriller, Deadly Christmas Inheritance. I just listened to the audiobook of it, and it was so good. The faith was super, super strong, super upfront throughout the entire book. And I really appreciated that about it, especially with how much the characters went through. You needed a lot of faith, and it was there, and very, very good. And the other book of hers that I really enjoyed was A Cry in the Dark. This is the second book in the FBI Strange Crimes Unit series, I think it's called. I don't know if that's like the official series title, but it's something along those lines. The first book is Her Darkest Secret, and then A Cry in the Dark, and then The Garden Girls. That's the 3-book series, and that's the order that I just said. So this is the middle book, but this is probably my favorite book out of the series. I don't know why, but it deals with a cult. It deals with a girl who's like borderline atheist, but like also not completely turned off to God, if that makes sense. Really good series, really good book. Definitely thriller. Again, these are books that if you like spook a little bit easily, maybe read it during the daytime. Don't just read it at night, because I couldn't read that book at night. And then lastly, by Jessica R. Patch, this is her most recent release. And I read this book in like 3 days, I think. Um, Not even 3 days, I think it was 2 days. This one does not have romance. And if you know me at all, you know that I read romance. That is my I love romance in books, and I rarely will read a book going in knowing it doesn't have romance. I did know that this book wouldn't have romance, and I still read it because it's by Jessica R. Patch, the other sister. This is hands down my all-time favorite thriller. Now, I had some expectations going into this book. I had some idea of what was going on, but for the most part, I kind of went in blind, and I'm glad I did. Like I said, I guess going in blind, it doesn't quite fit. I didn't know a whole lot about the book going into it, and as I'm reading, I literally had like 4 different storylines, like endings that I was thinking through, like, oh, this could be the person, this could be the person. None of them were right. It was like impossible to figure it out, and it was so good, just so good. The faith was definitely lighter in this book um, than most of her books, but there was still faith. Like there was still a redemption moment, and it was done really well. The faith that was in this book was done really well, but it was a mind bender, mind twister, mind boggler, all of the mind things that are mind games. But it was very good, and I definitely recommend it. This is one where it's more like psychological than, boo. Like spooky. It's not really spooky, it's just more of like a psychological thriller. And yeah, it was just done really well. And I she is like definitely a go-to for me when I want a Christian thriller. If you have recommendations of other Christian thriller authors, preferably with romance, please drop them in the comments. I know there's Ted Decker and Frank Peretti are two that I hear a lot about. Um, but if there's anyone else that you can think of, please share it with me in the comments because I'd love to read some more Christian thrillers. Um, but yeah, so those are my authors that they have a diehard lifelong fan in me. That was Mandi Blake, Joanna, Davidson, Politano, Emily Conrad, Jaime Jo Wright, Jennifer Q. Hunt, and Jessica R. Patch. If you have not read anything by these authors, I highly recommend you check them out. If you want to start with any of the books that I suggested here, or if another one of their books blurbs speaks to you, go for it. But let me know, have you read any of them? Let me know in the comments, what did you think of them, and what of their books have you read, and what of these books do you want to read? I would love to hear it. But that's all I have for you today. I feel like that was a pretty long video, but that's all I have. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful weekend or week or day or whatever it is. God bless, and I will see you next time. Bye.